Well, that was certainly a great song to introduce us into our next episode of MLA Language Heads Kitchen, because I think the best thing in the world is chocolate, and we have a great recipe here. So let's welcome our guest chef today. It's Madina Satariano. Hi, Madina.
Hi, hello. Good afternoon for most of you.
And you are calling us now from Malta, from the island of Malta. Give us the beautiful weather report from the sunny island of Malta.
Warm, summery, around 25 degrees, and we've started swimming. It's like maybe 19 degrees. The water for Maltese people is still cold. I'm sure even for a lot of our Italian friends it's still cold, but yeah, we're from the north, so we did swim already.
There you go. You can make us all jealous there. So Madina, tell us a little bit about how you're connected with the MLA family. What do you do with the company?
I'm in sales. I bring different nationalities, students from mostly Russian-speaking countries, what we call former USSR, so Ukraine as well, Kazakhstan, and some European countries hopefully will come along as well.
Fantastic. And you are cooking one of my absolutely favorite dishes. You are cooking brownies today. It is my number one indulgence. I don't cook them often because I will eat the entire pan. But tell me, why did you choose brownies today? Is it a family recipe, something that your family enjoys?
Honestly, I was avoiding brownie for quite some time. I thought it was something complicated because whenever I used to eat it in coffee shops and restaurants, it was so good, it was so tasty. I thought it's definitely difficult to do. And then just one of my kids mentioned that he did it at school on the home economic lessons. And I just decided to try it out now, recently, during the lockdown. Because when you're sitting at home, everyone is getting bored. And then once in a while, the kids want something nice. And that was one of the recipes we tried out. And since then, we're just doing it quite often.
Well, it sounds great, and I agree. I think food is a universal language. It's something that we can all relate to, during this period. So let's go ahead and get started today. I want to remind all of our attendees that are with us that we will send today's recipe. We will give you the full list of ingredients, all of the weights and measurements, and all of the instructions after the webinar today. It will come to you by email. So don't worry. If you've joined us before, you've gotten all the recipes on our post-attendee email that goes out. So that's going to be coming your way. But go ahead, Madina. I will put up your ingredient list for you so people can see. We can start by reviewing what you need in your kitchen to go ahead and get started.
So definitely chocolate. So if we're talking brownie, it has to be chocolatey. And if you choose dark chocolate, it would be like rich and quite, I would say, noble. If you're doing it for the kids, you can easily go down to milk chocolate and choose something like 50% rather than 70%. So today I've chosen this chocolate. We have a lot of Italian products in Malta actually, so this is one of them. And I used the cocoa powder, which is British. So we have a combination of British and Italian recipe. We have cocoa powder, flour, sugar. Now, when it comes to sugar, you can literally regulate yourself. If you don't want to indulge too much and you don't want it to be too sweet, you can put less sugar. Then vanilla essence. Instead of vanilla, I just chose vanilla sugar to add to the regular sugar. Butter. This is the actual chocolate I'm going to put in. And salt. So the first stage, this recipe is done in 3 stages. So the very first one, we have to melt chocolate and butter on something which is called with a French word, bain-marie, right? So it's when we melt those two together, and it's just literally come in a boiling pot, already prepared one, and I put those two in this small little pot.
So in the US, we call it a double boiler. So when you have the pot of water below, and then you have, sometimes there's a glass bowl on top, or sometimes it's another pot, but basically it's a soft way to melt the butter and the chocolate together, so you're not exposing the chocolate to really high temperatures.
Exactly. And it's easy to use the cooking chocolate because the texture of it is slightly different. It doesn't melt so quickly, so that's why we're using this hot water. And in the meantime, I'm gonna switch on the oven. So you have to set it at 180 degrees, and later on the baking time is 25-30 minutes. So it's very quickly done.
Okay, fantastic. So we got the oven preheated now. We've got the butter and the chocolate starting to go onto the stove top so we can get that all melted and incorporated. And don't forget, guys, all of the ingredients and all of the measurements are going to be sent to you with the full recipe after the webinar.
Obviously, most probably some of you or most of you have kids, and this part is the best for them because you put one of your kids, or you can even use it for your students, like as a lesson, and teach them the ingredients. They learn the ingredients, and those who knows the ingredients the best then gets to do this part, because here you have chocolate melting with butter, and this is the sweetest and I would say the nicest. So you can literally put your finger in, dip it in, and just lick it, and that's delicious. So while this is melting, I'm just pushing it a bit to get it quickly melt. In the meantime, I'm going to mix. So flour, the dry ingredients, flour, cocoa powder, and salt. So just mix it in.
And here we go. We'll go back here and I'll show you the ingredients once again. So for the flour, it's 120 grams of flour. We're looking for 60 grams of the cocoa powder. And Madina is using just a half teaspoon of salt. So again, here's the ingredient list that we have up on the screen for you now. And you will get this ingredient list and the full recipe after the webinar today.
So we have 3 stages, like I said. This is 1, this is 2, and the 3rd stage is mixing sugar and eggs. Usually you do it with this, that's called whisking, and this is the whisker. To be quite honest, I get lazy these days and I just use the machine, the cooking aid. It gets much fluffier, and I don't think anyone can do it unless you're a professional chef with this. But yeah, this is good as well. So I'm gonna make some noise, and Carson in between will entertain you ladies.
There you go. So there's a couple of questions that are on the chat right now. Of course, we're making dark chocolate brownies. And again, we can adjust that chocolate. So depending upon your likes, Madina was saying, you know, it could be milk chocolate, it could be dark chocolate. You know, there's, again, a lot of creativity when it comes to brownies and the things that you can work with and the things that you can put inside. So it's a really great exercise to do with students or to do with your family, with your kids, and allow them to kind of customize you know, the brownie to their liking. So all different types of things. I like to put little dried cherry pieces sometimes when I'm making brownies because I like that chocolate cherry combination. And sometimes when my wife lets me, I also put some peanut butter inside because I love peanut butter, and I think the chocolate and peanut butter make the absolute best combination. So guys, if you have any questions for Madina or for myself while we're doing this recipe, feel free to raise your hand. We can unmute the microphone. And then we also have the possibility of answering your questions in the chat. So don't be afraid to ask our chat questions. We have Elizabetta with us today. Hi, Elizabetta. Go ahead and unmute your microphone. Hi, Elizabetta. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, what's your question?
Yes, I have. But how many?
Oh, Elizabetta, we got caught off there. Can you hear us?
Okay, we have a question coming in.
Yeah, I think we have Elizabetta. Can you hear us, Elizabetta? I think we lost Elizabetta, but Elizabetta, try coming back again. We'll be happy to answer your question, or you can also put it inside of the chat there. And let's go now to Margarita. Hi, Margarita.
Hi, sorry for my English. But I don't understand how many butter.
Okay, how much butter? So we were looking for the butter at 125 grams. So 125 grams of butter. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Margarita. All right, there we go. And don't forget, guys, the full recipe, all of the ingredients, all of the measurements will be sent to you guys after the webinar today. All right, Madina, so how are we doing over there?
So this is almost melted. The eggs mixture with sugar is ready. So once butter and chocolate melted together, we just have to wait a little bit when it cools down, just a little bit so it's not too hot, because that has to go in first to the egg mixture. So we don't want to cook the eggs before they actually get into the oven. And then once those two are together, you just add the flour mixture and again, mix it well. So if you have a machine like that, you just change one of those appliances and mix it again together very well. If not, just use your hands. It's not that difficult. It comes very, very, mix it well. So this is ready.
So we have a couple of questions now on the chat. The first one, Patrizia said, how about a recording so her students can watch later? Absolutely, Patrizia. We will send the recording link with the presentation tomorrow. But don't forget that if you follow MLA on YouTube, you can see all of our past webinars as well. So all of our webinars are published on YouTube. And then also we have a great question from Antonella, a scary question. She wants to know how many calories are in a slice of brownie. Antonella, we don't answer those questions here because when you're eating brownies, you don't count calories.
To be quite honest, as far as I know, it's an American recipe.
Yeah,
American recipe.
And you know Americans.
Yeah, they go.
Americans, we don't count calories. It's impossible.
Yeah. So this is, I'm not sure if you can see it, but let me put it just like that. So it smells absolutely delicious. It's chocolate and really, really nice. And let me just put it down over here for a while. And take out this. So the eggs really have to be beaten well. So there's like that white fluff, that white foam. It means that once it's in the oven, it will start rising very well. So here we go. I'm just a bit worried that it will cook. Let me mix it again.
Yeah, so it's important, as Madina said before, that you cool the mixture from the stove before putting it into the eggs. Otherwise, you're going to start to cook the eggs. So you're going to almost scramble the eggs. That goes back to our episode on Spanish tortilla, which we had several episodes ago. We don't want that. So we want to make sure that we can just incorporate it together. So give it a couple stirs to make it nice and cool before we put the chocolate and butter mixture into those eggs.
So that's where you can, be naughty and just put your finger in just to test the water, not the chocolate in this case.
I would be happy to test for you as well. Don't worry.
So that goes in. By the way, you don't have to use the sugar. In fact, talking about calories, if you want it a bit fudgy, you just use less flour and less sugar. But then the chocolate has to be really, really rich, because then the chocolate will give the taste to the brownie.
Yeah, so the question also on the chat was whole eggs. Yes, we are using 3 whole eggs in this recipe. So you don't have to separate the eggs. We want everything of all parts of the eggs, the white and the yolk. And then the other question was, is there any yeast? Are we using a self-raising flour, or is it just an all-purpose flour?
No, that's the good thing about this brownie. It always comes great because there is no that, it doesn't have to be like a cake. It's like a biscuit, really, like a cookie. It's just, there's no mistake here. There is no raising agent.
Wonderful.
Regular flour, not a self-raising flour. No, baking soda, nothing like that. This is just those 4 ingredients that we're using. That's it, nothing else.
All right, so all-purpose flour for the recipe for today.
Yeah, so that's how it is. It's a nice brownie mixture, eggs, sugar, chocolate, and butter. And we just add the mixture of flour and cocoa powder.
Now, I think this would be the right moment, too, that if you wanted to add anything extra to the brownies, right? So if you wanted to add any maybe nuts, to the brownies, like some beautiful walnuts, or if you wanted to incorporate any type of dried fruits, you could do it in this stage.
Some people like it with brandy. You just add a small shot of brandy.
Come on.
I give it to my kids, so I don't use alcohol here. Yeah, but it's a good way of giving it a particular taste.
Yeah, Maria's just saying on the chat that is it correct? It's an important step to let the chocolate mixture cool before incorporating the eggs, and that's what we're saying. Yeah, we want to make sure that you don't put the hot butter and chocolate into the cold eggs because you would end up cooking the eggs before they go inside of the oven, which is what we don't want. And Tina has said that she would like to try them with the brandy. So
Yeah.
the next adult episode of MLA Kitchen, we'll do brownies with brandy. That sounds delicious. Paula wants to know where you're from, Madina. So Madina's calling us today from Malta. She's got a beautiful home on the island of Malta. But obviously, Madina has a bit of a Russian accent too. So international background, one of our international sales representatives that brings MLA students from all markets around the world, which is great.
Yeah, so this is ready. And I'm not even going to use additional KitchenAid. Usually I just mix it with this type of appliances, which is, it just mixes it even better. I think I'm okay today.
Madina, can you bring that bowl a little bit closer to the camera so we can see the consistency?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks great. Yeah. Delicious. All right.
And then you just put it in a dish. You can use baking paper, but glass bowls are usually very good and it gets off them quickly and easily. So I'm not gonna use baking paper or those silicone layers that are also helping you to get it off them easily. And
are you going to do any grease or anything in the bottom there, or you're just putting it into the bare pan?
No, just putting it in because there's enough butter and it will grease the surface itself.
That's great. And so we have the oven right now. The oven is started at 180 degrees. So we've got that up to temperature. We started that when we were doing our first mixtures. And now we've incorporated all the ingredients in. So it's got that beautiful brownie kind of thick consistency to it. Again, feel free to incorporate any type of nuts or dried fruits, anything special that you want to do to make your brownies unique. And now it's going inside of the ungreased baking pan.
So just make it even like that. So it goes round. Remove the excess if you just drop on the sides a bit. So this, if your children are around, they'll easily lick it off.
I was gonna say, who's gonna get that? Is Alex gonna get that, or one of the kids gonna get that?
Yeah, well, my kids are not here at the moment. I guess, yes, Alex will definitely eat.
All right, congratulations, Alex. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, it goes in and it's just about 180 degrees. Now, when baking, it's around 25 minutes. So if you want it to be a bit like, you know, that chocolatey, liquidy part inside, you just take it out around 20-25 minutes. If you want it like more like a cookie, like a fudge, like a cake, just leave it a bit longer. And in this case, obviously I've baked one before and we have it ready, so you don't have to wait for half an hour. And I'm gonna show it to you. So that's how it comes.
Oh, wow.
In this case, it's quite sort of moist inside and more like a biscuit outside. So it came really nice. So
bring them a little closer. Let us all take a smell of those beautiful brownies. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. I think the best thing about this recipe that I don't have when I make brownies is you're using two types of chocolate. So you've got the cocoa powder that you've put inside, which is that beautiful British cocoa powder, but you also did the melted dark chocolate, which I think just takes them to another level.
Yeah, exactly. And you can eat it with a scoop of ice cream, vanilla ice cream. So then, you know, and it has to be warm. You still have to cool it down, not very hot, but it has to be like warm room temperature. To taste that chocolate flavor, and then you just add ice cream to that, and beautiful.
And the good thing too, brownies reheat so easily, so even the next day you put them into the microwave maybe 10 seconds, it gets that beautiful warm kind of gooey texture back, and then of course a little bit of vanilla ice cream, vanilla gelato on top. Come on, you can't go wrong with that. So now you have a plate of brownies, Madina. You've got a pan of brownies in the oven. Who's going to eat all of these brownies?
My daughter, my children, and yeah, my husband will definitely all enjoy it. But this is one of those recipes, you know, when you have a friend coming over or your kids are gonna bring some friends, so you just do it very quickly and it's ready. And it's not just quickly done. It always comes great. It never fails. So perfect.
That's fantastic. So let's go back. We're just going to review for everybody here our list of ingredients. So we started today with 200 grams of our dark chocolate. Madina was using the 60% to almost 70% dark chocolate, but you can use a variation. So if you do not like dark chocolate or you're using it for kids, you want to use milk chocolate, that's perfectly fine. We're putting in 170 grams of sugar. And again, Madina said we can adjust that a little bit too. So you take out some sugar, they become a little bit more dense, add a little bit more sugar if you like them to be sweet. 3 whole eggs, we're using both the whites and the yolks. 120 grams of just general flour, all-purpose flour, not the self-raising flour kind, but I'm sure you could substitute it if that's all you have in your pantry. We're using 60 grams of cocoa powder. We're using 125 grams of butter, and then 1 teaspoon of the vanilla sugar or vanilla extract, whatever you have in your pantry there, and just a half a teaspoon of salt when you bring that all together. So they were cooked inside of our oven at 180 degrees, Madina said, for about 25, 27 minutes, depending upon if you like them a little gooey or not. And again, too, remember that we want to make sure that that chocolate butter mixture is nice and cool before we incorporate it into those eggs, so you don't cook those eggs. So that sounds fantastic, Madina. Are you going to taste one for us and let us know how they are?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I was thinking actually is just gluing them together, but then we decided to cut the first batch. And more, then you can do 2 portions, and then you just put even Nutella. Nutella is also great, and 2 layers stick together with Nutella. Then you definitely have a killer sweet chocolate dessert.
That is such an indulgence. So, Madina, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to your husband, Alex, for helping us, too, with the filming of it today, and to your family who's going to be eating all those delicious brownies for us. So we really appreciate it. To all of our friends out there around the world that are watching us today, don't forget that recipe is going to be sent to you tomorrow. It's going to have the full list of ingredients, all of the weights and measurements, and all of the steps to make your very own dark chocolate brownies. So thanks again, Madina. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great weekend. And happy Mother's Day. This weekend is Mother's Day. So hope you have a good Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to be back here next week. We have a fantastic week of webinars that are going to be lined up for you. We come back your way on Wednesday with our MLA Talk Time. It's free teacher training for teachers all around the world. Make sure to register at mlaworld.com/webinar. We also have our MLA Chit Chat Club. We're going to be going on an excursion to Hollywood, California. We're going to meet a sound effects artist. It's called a Foley artist, the person who puts all of the sound effects inside movies and films. That is for students, and that is going to be next Thursday on MLA Chit Chat Club. And then we're going to have a very special episode of MLA Kitchen next Friday to celebrate Mother's Day. I'm going to be in the kitchen again with my mom. So it's going to be me and my mom cooking next week. We're going to have a great recipe coming up. That's next Friday on MLA Kitchen. You can learn all about us at mlaworld.com/webinars. Until next weekend, guys, thanks for tuning in. We hope you have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and we hope to see you real soon.